This is Ultimate Soccer with Soccer Steve.
Let's get into this. The World Cup final, probably the best ever World Cup final ever in my life. Remember, I've been watching since 1974. Ryan, I think, has been watching since 2002. Ryan.
2006.
2006.
I was a toddler in 2002. It was hard to watch.
I'm making you older, fella, as young as you are, but give us a lowdown, mate. What a final. What's your take on that game?
That game, I'm surprised it didn't end sooner. That's the one thing I want to say, because Argentina, for 80 minutes, seemed like they had that game by the scruff of the neck like I expected. And I did think when France got slapped in the face, they would make a rush at a comeback. I didn't think they'd actually come back twice, let alone. That's what surprised me there, because I thought Argentina was so dominant over the 80 minutes. France showed up. They didn't show up. They were just there. They were a passenger on the day, on the night. I thought, oh, well, this one's over at 80 minutes. 2 minutes later, it's like, oh, we're going to extra time, aren't we? And even then, I was like,
you know, when we were at that stage of the game, like coming towards the second half, and it's like coming down to it, 2-2, and you're thinking, what an amazing advert for football. The game had everything. It had drama start to finish. And then we go into extra time. I mean, I got to tell you, this was the game I didn't want to finish. It was absolutely unfreaking believable. The atmosphere, the passion, the fight, the hatred toward each other. I mean, it had everything in that game. I mean, do you think we'll ever see a World Cup final bigger than that? I mean, carry on, mate.
I honestly don't think so. I'd like to be biased and say Italy 2006 was better. Another one France lost on penalties, but
yeah.
I don't think I can be biased. If I'm not, this was the best World Cup final I've seen in the 5 World Cups that I've watched in my almost 23 years of life. This was something, and I don't think there's going to be another one this good unless we got a 5-5 shootout and then end in a penalty shootout. If they do it bigger in Texas in 2026 or LA, maybe we'll have some better, but this was something. Even my dad was like, this game turned great. When it got to the penalties, he was like, didn't expect that.
No, I mean, like, taking it right from the first minute, I mean, it exploded immediately with the first kick of the game. The passion was right in the ball, and you knew it was going to be a murderous game. Now, we both said Argentina were going to win it. Yes, let's take that one. Boom, we both got that one right. But 23 minutes in, Messi puts the penalty in. I do believe it was a penalty. 36 minutes in, this goal I really want to talk about. You got Messi, midfield, the one-timer to the wing. McAllister runs down the right side, sees Di Maria coming in the far side, slides the ball across. Perfect timing. And Di Maria puts it in against Lloris, who I said was the weak spot of France, who dives the wrong way, and it goes over his torso. 2-0, fantastic goal. At that stage, I thought it was over. Second half, pretty much just like the first half, a battle, and a real battle. And then you've got the brilliance of Mbappe. 79th minute gets the penalty. Fine, fair dues. It's a penalty. Yes, I say it's a penalty. The referee got it right. And then on 80, the volley. Boom! What a goal. What a fantastic match. In extra time, we've got Messi and Mbappe fighting it out again for a 3-3 tie before we go into penalties. But I tell you what, there's one guy in this whole tournament that's not getting any credit. It's this guy here. That referee, Simon Marciniak. I tell you, Ray, for my money, best referee of the tournament. What's your take?
A respect for a final that you absolutely want. He let it be thrilling. He let the boys play, and he let them go forward, and he didn't really hurt the flow of the game. I actually compared this to the Netherlands game because on stream, they were saying, I don't think France could pull a Netherlands, which they ended up doing, but I think France did that out of their own greatness. It wasn't an artificial opening. It wasn't an artificial make them step back and be calmer. No, France did that out of their own quality to get back into this game. The Netherlands game is what you wouldn't have wanted. A game like the Netherlands-Argentina game is not what you would have wanted out of a referee. So I'm glad to see that the referee let the players play, let the final be as open-ended and as action-packed as it was, instead of just blowing the whistle every 5 seconds. Because if we had a referee that did that, you wouldn't have got the ending that you did. I could tell you that much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, I'm happy they picked Marinchak. Elfath was also on the crew as the 4th official as well. So we got to give props to that. He did make the final as a ref. He just didn't center ref it. But I think it's better that he was a 4th official.
And we're grateful he didn't, right?
Yeah, grateful for that one. I could tell you that much.
Absolutely. Now, here's something that I thought was really very brave from Didier Deschamps, the French coach. On 41 minutes, he takes out Giroud for Thuram, and he takes out Dembele for Colomouani. I thought that was absolutely the bravest thing I've seen in a World Cup final by any coach ever in history. And you know what? It nearly worked. I don't think if he makes that decision that France get back in the game. I think Argentina go on to possibly win 3, maybe 3-1, 4-0, because up until that decision-making by Deschamps, France were not in this game, and it was all one-way traffic, and Argentina literally owned it. But as soon as those changes were made, I think that's what got France back in the game. What's your take on that?
I would agree with that. Now that you say that, I would agree with that, because Colomouani did score a penalty in the shootout, kept France alive. But as well, I think Colomouani and Thuram brought on some new energy that Giroud and Dembele didn't bring on, I would say. Because the energy that they brought on pressing, they brought on momentum, they brought on fight. Giroud, I didn't see that. I didn't see fight out of him today. And I'm a big fan of Olivier Giroud when it comes to what I saw at Chelsea and all those times. I'm a big fan of Olivier Giroud. I think Dembele has a lot of talent, even though he's been injured a lot in his career. I didn't see fight out of them. I really did not see fight out of them. And I think another thing that hurt France was Griezmann played at the left of midfield. He wasn't playing the 10. I would say Griezmann, what his best position is the number 10 as a center attacking midfielder. He's not good on the wing. He's not good on the side of midfield. He has to be a number 10. And I think when he started to float back in, that's when things started to change, is when he started to float back in, cut in. Because I think there was a little bit of that impetus to do that throughout the game. So I think Deschamps should have started him at the 10. He didn't. But the changes Deschamps made, those were gutsy, and they almost worked out. I have to agree.
You know what? When you say coaches make super decisions, I think the halftime decision or just before halftime was a magical decision, but you have to bring more. And I think that in extra time, we didn't see either coach really change the flow too much. I think that was the biggest decision in the game. It proves when you put two massive teams together on the same field, it's going to be the players that make the decisions on the day. And I think that looking at two massive players, the first one we're going to touch is the man himself, the man of the day, my man Messi. What do you think this means to Messi? What do you think this means to Argentina now that they're world champions for the 3rd time?
For Messi, this is a dream come true, because he's been fighting for this his whole career. He's been the man to take that mantle of Maradona. As soon as he was a young player, Lionel Messi took the mantle of Diego Armando Maradona. And he was given that mantle even from 2006. And people were like, you're the chosen one. Go win us a World Cup. Go win us a Copa America. It isn't as much as we would have expected, but he's gone and done it. He won the Copa America in 21. He won the World Cup this year. It finally all came together over this past year for Lionel Messi, because he's been carrying this Argentina team for years. 2014 was a great side, but then when you get to 2018, it was older legends and a group of misfit toys led by Messi. And Sampaoli, horrible choices there in 2018, led to Argentina getting dumped by France, who eventually became the world champions and eventually were able to defend their trophy, or go against Argentina to defend that trophy in this final. So you could say this was a story 4 years in the making and not just a year in the making, because this was also a bit of revenge as well. And just like the Croatia game in the semis, Messi wanted revenge. He was the guy who put Argentina on the precipice of winning this trophy. Scored a goal, scored a penalty, scored another penalty in the shootout, made Lloris look like an idiot twice, just two opposite sides, the same exact way. He was basically, him and Emi Martinez were man of the match for me. Messi and Emi Martinez. That's where you have to go. You have to have the award.
Messi's in another world, man. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it doesn't look like he works too hard, but what he does is absolutely the best you've ever seen. It makes everything happen effortlessly. And, you know, Mr. Golden Ball winner, Mr. World Cup champion, it all came down in one day. The other guy that we can touch on, Kylian Mbappe, great performance. He goes out with the golden boot, no golden trophy, but a golden boot as a top scorer with 8. He and the French team put out a major performance in the second half. Had they have done what they did in the second half, in the first half, I think we talk about a different world champion. I think we see a repeat champion. Remember, that's only happened twice in history. That's Italy and Brazil, 30s and 50s. This was a moment that France didn't seize. And I think that you saw the pivotal moment in this game was when the penalties started to happen, because you couldn't separate them on the field. It should have been done and dusted. It should have been a win for Argentina. But after 120, you couldn't separate these guys. Penalty kicks was the only way to do it. And I got to say, when you look at Coman and Tchouaméni, terrible, terrible penalty kicks. And had they have just taken maybe 1 or 2 more steps and not lashed it, but gave it a bit more power, I think the actual penalty shootout goes even further. But commend Kylian Mbappe for winning the Golden Boot. How big a trophy do you think that makes for him right now, considering he didn't get the big one?
I think he's proud of his efforts, but I think he's also devastated that he was this close to a repeat. He was inches to a World Cup repeat at the age of 23. The only other player to do that was Pele. Mbappe could have been at Pele levels already in his career, and he's had a great career. I know he's played for PSG and Monaco. He's never got out of the French league, and I know he wants to. I know he wants to go to Real Madrid. I think that's very possible this summer or January, probably more likely in the summer. But Mbappe, he's the next one of the 2 big stars. I'm not saying Haaland and Mbappe is like Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo as a debate, but I think those are the 2 guys that are upcoming, and maybe Jude Bellingham's like the Modric of this generation as well. But Mbappe is the name, unless there's tragedy, you're going to hear for another 15, 20 years. And he's going to have more chances at a World Cup. And I guarantee you this is going to be some motivation for him to do more in 2026 and possibly win that trophy. This is a source of motivation for Mbappe that may want to make him do more and be better. This could push him to even higher levels. So I think he's going to use this as fuel, frankly. I think he's disappointed he lost the trophy. I think he's disappointed that he's not a world champion anymore, because becoming a world champion that young, you want to keep that feeling. And he did all he could to keep that feeling. Sadly, the rest of the team, Lloris definitely let him down, and the rest of that French team did let Mbappe down, but he did all he could, and I have to commend that. A hat trick, a scored penalty to start off the shootout. He did all he could. And if France won, he certainly would have been man of the match, and he probably would have won the Golden Ball. But what can you do when it comes to the end of that match?
Couple of quick-fire questions. Didier Deschamps, does he stay on as French coach, or is this the end of the road for Didier?
I think Zidane comes in next year. I think Didier Deschamps, they gave him a chance to defend the title. At first, I thought that was a bad idea. But in the end, it was a good idea to let Deschamps have his chance to defend the title. He did well. The team did well. And I think that at the end of it, this is the end of a cycle. Mbappe's still going to be there. You still have Tchouaméni. You'll still have a lot of the players. But I think they need something better. I think they need that cutting edge besides Mbappe. And I think that's Zidane. I think Zidane comes in for France for Euro 24 and on.
Has this World Cup, in your mind, been a success on the field?
Yes, definitely. Best World Cup on the field. I still stick with that. Best World Cup on the pitch that I've ever seen. Right next to 2006. Above 2006, above 2018, and those are top 3. But, yeah, this has been the best on the field.
Now, recently, Mr. Infantino from FIFA has basically gone out and said that the next World Cup in 2026, Mexico, USA, Canada, 48-team competition, he's now thinking that 48 teams may be too much. Like we've discussed many times, that 32 teams is the golden number. As we've seen in this competition, the entertainment that we've taken on board from 32 teams, from the 8 groups, can we get any better? We said no. Now FIFA's looking to maybe stay with the 32 and not go for the 48-team competition. I think that they're saying something that's going to bring them problems either way, because if they now want to reorganize what they've already set in place in 4 years' time, who's going to miss out on games? Does the USA get less games? Does Canada get less games? Does Mexico get less games? I mean, when you're going from 48 teams, 16 groups back down to 8 groups and 32 teams, that's going to bring logistic problems and probably a red face. What's your take on that angle?
I think in the end, they're going to stay the same. I think in the end, they've made too much of a promise that they can't renege on. But if they do, I feel like Canada's going to bear the brunt of it. I think they'll still be a host, but Toronto will get a couple of games. Vancouver will get a game or two. Mexico and USA are probably what they're really focused on. As you can see from the venues they have, they may have to slice that down with the USA, but I think right now, I agree that 48's too much. I think they realized it way too late, though. This may be 2026, maybe the only World Cup with 48 teams. They'll probably knock it right back down because they haven't made that promise for anybody else. But I think you're too far in. I think you are too far in to renege on a promise that you have made 2 years ago.
You like that hat, Ryan?
Yes, yes.
Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat. It's time to get back to the green grass mat. What am I saying? After World Cup soccer, the soccer doesn't stop. We've got soccer coming out the yin-yang, the Premier League, CPL, MLS, Nations League, Gold Cup. It never stops. 2023 is going to be a massive year. Will it be bigger than 2022 for entertainment? Because let's face it, only once in 4 years do we get the World Cup. This World Cup has been the best ever. 174 goals in the World Cup as well. Most ever goals ever scored in a World Cup. How can you beat that moving forward? I mean, I know 4 years is a long way away, but 2023 has so much to give. But do you think we can get better entertainment ever in our lives than what we received in this last 4 months? Sorry, 4 weeks.
I don't know if 2023 will beat the entertainment level. I really don't. I think we could have a good 2023, an entertaining 2023, less busy, albeit. But for me, I think the World Cup, this was a great month of football. This was a beautiful month of football that's going to be hard to replicate. Even the next World Cup will be hard to replicate with the way these games have been played, the craziness, the drama. MLS is a very exciting league, but even the drama that came out of this World Cup, you can't match it. Like there was so many upsets, so many shocking results, so many great moments, so many great goals. And it was an awesome tournament to watch. Qatar on the pitch, beautiful, great tournament. And I hope the next World Cup matches up. I hope what the Gold Cup brings next year, Nations League, Euro qualifiers, MLS, Champions League, CONCACAF, and UEFA. I hope everything that we see next year can match up, but it's going to be a tall task.
And finally, CONCACAF teams, America, Mexico, Costa Rica, Canada. Did we do well at the World Cup? Did we do as good as we could have? Can we all be proud of what we just did?
For Canada, I think they can be proud because they were in the group of death. The group of death, you had 2 teams in the semis from your group. Is it sad that we got 0 points? Yes. Did we score a goal and get an own goal? We scored 2 more goals than we did in 86? Yes, we did. Canada, I'm not saying be super proud, but be proud that you were there. The real journey was qualification and the roller coaster ride John Herdman took us on. And the World Cup was just that epilogue. The real story will be written in 2024, 2026 for the next 4 years. That's when the real story will be written. And this was a good experience to get. But Canada, I'm proud of what they did. Costa Rica, they fought. I kind of expected them to be there, so they didn't underperform. Mexico's the problem. Mexico, fracaso. I didn't think they'd get out of the group, but if they played like they did against Saudi Arabia all 3 games, they would have gotten out of that group. If they had a different manager, they would have gotten out of that group. If they called some players they need to bury the hatchet with to get them to the World Cup, they would have gotten out of that group. Them losing in the group, even though I called it, wasn't exactly a problem created by themselves. It was a problem created by thinking everything's okay. Everything is fine and dandy with the FMF. It's not. And you had the warning shot from June of 2021 on. Everything failed. Nations League, failure. Gold Cup, failure. Women's Olympic qualifiers, failure. Women's World Cup qualifiers, failure. The under-20 World Cup, failure. The men's under-20, failure. Everything. Friendlies were failures. Yep. Qualifying was a damn near failure. Third place, basically being tied. I think they were tied for first, but still. Mexico, if they're as good as they think, they should be doing better than that in qualifying.
I totally agree.
They barely could win at Azteca, which used to be a fortress. Everybody knew that this was going to be a failure except the FMF. They were so corrupt that they're like, nah, we're fine. We don't need to send our players to Europe. We could put $20 million price tags on their heads and we'll be fine. They're talented. Nope. We don't need to change our manager. We'll be fine. Nope. Mexico is what makes CONCACAF looks worse at this World Cup.
I totally agree with you, because moving towards 2026, this was something I was thinking about going through the competition. And the last couple of days, I've been really wearing this under my hat, not my Christmas hat, but my bonnet. And I'm looking at it this way. The 4 teams that just got to the World Cup, I'm going to stick with those 4 teams just to give you guys out there a piece of what I'm thinking. Let's start with Costa Rica. Costa Rica, ceiling right now. It's not going to get any better, and they need to change things up fast. They're not going to factor too heavily at the 2026 World Cup. Guaranteed. Mexico, you are in trouble. You may be at the next World Cup because you're a host. But that next World Cup, I don't see Mexico doing anything. I'm worried about Mexico in the next 4 years. It's got to come up leaps and bounds. The USA can feel that they're in a really decent position. You might not like Berhalter, the coach, but if you look at the talent and the young talent coming through, you've got 3.5 years to get ready for 2026. I see America being a big team in the World Cup in 2026. Canada, finally, before we shut down. Same applies with Canada as with the USA. Young team, a hell of a lot of talent. And over the next 3.5 years, where their players are dotted, whether it's MLS or in the Euro leagues, they're going to garner 3.5 years more experience. It's experience that the young players lacked at this World Cup, especially with Canada, if not the USA. The next 3.5 years, Canada will bring that level up. And when the World Cup gets here in 3.5 years, I fully feel that Canada will put itself in a place where, one, I will guarantee you right now, 4 years ahead of time, they will win their first ever World Cup game. And secondly, they will get out of their group. Watch it happen. Those are the predictions I'm seeing on those 4 teams for the next World Cup and moving forward. But before we shut this down, guys, drop your comments down below and drop your comments at TFC Midwest Podcast as well. And thank Ryan for everything that he's done, because I tell you what, the man has a great brain. And I love people that can talk the game. And he talks the game like nobody else I know. And I've worked with your James Sharmans, your Christian Jacks, and the rest of them on TV. This guy knows what he's talking about, but there's one thing he shares with you and me, and it's called passion. And if you don't have passion, you shouldn't be talking this game. Ryan, I want to ask you one final question before you close down with me on this World Cup. There must be a moment within the World Cup where you said, wow, that just dotted and crossed the T's for me. That's what I'm looking for. In the World Cup, what gave you the most joy or most satisfaction watching one particular game? in this World Cup? What was your chosen moment?
You know, I think Japan getting to the round of 16, the way they did, winning their group, I think that's the one for me. Just thinking about it quickly, if we were just going over moments in general, I'd say Morocco, but we're talking about one moment. I think Japan beating Spain to getting out of their group, winning that game, the way they did. Yeah, I think Japan winning that third game to top their group. Yeah, that's my moment.
My moment, it's a bit of a strange one, but it was watching England play, not Canada. Yes, my love is for Canada, but it was watching England play against the French national team, who were then still reigning world champions. That was the game that tested my belief in how far England could go. And before the competition, I looked at the trickle down of what would happen from the round of 16s after the group phase. And I did see that England and France would meet. And I did see that England would drop and France would go forward. It's a moment of satisfaction for me because it proved that England are not at that level. And they've still got a long way to go. So when I was trying to clarify by talking not so lovingly about the England team, it was a case of when you and I both predict things, we're looking for our predictions to come in. It's not a case of I've got to be right, or you've got to be right, or you've got to be right. It's a case of when you say something, you're looking for it to happen. When you predict things like Ryan and I do, we're looking for things to happen. And if you look back throughout the whole World Cup, guys, the predictions that Ryan made came in 99%. The predictions that I made came in 99%. We predicted all the qualifiers coming through. We predicted the round of 16. We predicted 7 out of 8 in the quarterfinals. And from there on in, we gave you a great guided tour. I want everybody to take a moment and thank Ryan Anderson from TFC Midwest Podcast for the brilliant work that he's done on this World Cup throughout the whole World Cup. Because I tell you what, like I said, I've worked TV and I've worked radio professionally. And Ryan, you bring it like nobody else. Keep bringing what you do.
Thank you. It's an honor to hear that. But I have one last question because we were on the England topic. What do you think about Southgate staying through the Euros? Do you think he should, or do you think? I think he should, and I think he should have went. But what do you think?
Well, here's the deal. The man that perennially keeps losing as a player, losing as a coach, that really does not do it for me. I think that needs to be a change. Now, Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, somebody in that ilk needs to come in and take on that team. England has a World Cup winning squad. They don't have a World Cup winning coaching team. They haven't had a World Cup winning coaching team ever since 1966. By the way, Kylian Mbappe scored the first ever hat-trick at a World Cup final since 1966. But with Southgate, I want to see him fired. If you can't do the job, you got to go. And I got nothing against the guy, but I cannot stand looking at a guy that cannot get the job done. How many more chances does he need to lose semi-finals, finals, when it really matters? A coach that brings you to the glory is a coach like Argentina has right now, or a coach like Didier Deschamps 4 years ago. They cross the line. They get you into the finals, and then it's down to the players. So for my money, Southgate should go, and he should walk out the door himself. How can he keep the job when he has a losing record? And how can he keep the job when England are so eagerly trying to get their first trophy in 56 years? I say, fire him. He's got to go, and not in a nasty way. Just end it now. It's getting worse every year.
That's exactly what I thought you would say. But all I know is if Southgate needs to start swinging his sword like this and not like this. He needs to find his inner pirate if he's to stay. He needs to find his inner pirate. But he won't. He won't.
Where's the motivation to keep this guy? How is he motivating the team to win? If they had Johnny Herdman and they could bring it up, that's the kind of guy you want to have. I mean, is he not a man motivator? Can he not get into the players? Does he not have that closeness with players? Is he more generic? Is he standoff? People are saying, the players are saying, oh, he's great, he's great. How great can a losing coach be? You need to implement a coach with a winning record. If you want success, it starts at the top. and you formulate that plan. And I'm going to say it again. You take a look at Johnny Herdman, what he's done over the last 3 years. It's systematic. England is also systematic, but it's systematic failure from top to the players. The players deserve better.
The fact that the Lionesses outshowed the 3 Lions is just, at least they have something, you know, at least the FA has something, because if they don't make any changes, they won't have it on the men's side, that's for sure.
And no disrespect to the women's game. It's a wonderful game, but it's a totally different game to the men's game.
Exactly.
And as we know in football, if you want to rate your football association, it is done through your men's national team. It is not done through your women's national team. And anybody that thinks I'm being sexist doesn't understand what I just said. And I am very much in tune with the women's game and do applaud the women's game. But your men's game is what registers in the world, not the women's game. Therefore, with the Lionesses winning that trophy and England's men's not being able to win one, your men are sitting in behind your women, and the women are flying the flag in England, which is a state of affairs which is upside down. It's great for women's soccer, and I hope it can take them further. But your men's team should be on top. And that's where the dollars, that's where the promotion is, that's where the speed is, that's where the hot skill is, and that's where the temperament to win big should be. And right now, it's upside down in England. And I hope one day that they can really endorse the point that remove the virus of Southgate, instill a winning coach with a winning record. It's that simple.
On that point, just look at Canada from the 2000s to 2010s. The women's game was great. The men's game had its problems. But now they're both on more of an equal level, and people care more about football in the country of Canada because that Canadian qualifying run towards the World Cup plus the gold medal by the women at the Olympics. It's better to at least be on an equal level, if not the men's team be better or carry the flag, at least be on an equal level. Absolutely. But Canada's in the position where they're getting to that equal level where both sides are carrying the flag, which I like that. I think that's great. It's nice to see both teams actually succeed, but you're getting into a dangerous position if your men's team is getting outshone, because yes, the women's players have talent. I love the women's game, but again, the money comes from the men's side of things. And if your men can't compete to the same level, you got a problem, especially in a country like England. At least Canada, they've been building. They've had to build things. England is where football was created. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's great that Southgate's here. We're crony and it's fine. We won a women's Euros. We have a trophy. Southgate's here. We'll be crony and keep him. England, that's where it gets worse, is because England is where football was created. It was where football was invented. They should want more. And the fact that they don't is just absolutely sad.
It's a state of affairs that isn't going to change. It hasn't changed in decades, Ryan. England hasn't won nothing in 56 years. They haven't had a winning record, haven't had a winning coach. There's been many competitions that they haven't even got to, World Cups, Euros, etc. It may have been the nation that gave the world the game. But are they ever going to win it again? I tell you this, England has struggled to host another World Cup in decades. I firmly believe the only chance England has to win that World Cup, and I would love to see it, is when they host the World Cup again.
The Ultimate Soccer Show. Join me, listen, you'll love it. Everybody does.